We are seeing a rise in climate anxiety. Young people.
Deep inside the royal collection, a sealed order carrying Prince William's authorization called for the immediate return of Prince Philip's personal gold service medal from a secure Windsor vault. But it was the second instruction that stunned everyone. Meghan was denied access indefinitely. In a matter of moments, one treasured royal keepsake became the focus of a growing dispute over legacy, trust, and who still had the right to handle the monarchy's history. Before we reveal what this could mean for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you never miss our latest updates. William stood quietly beside the long oak table as the official vault register was placed before him. The royal collection had protected the medal since Prince Philip's passing, and every request to access it required written approval from the senior royal household. Philip had always regarded the medal as more than an award. It represented duty, resilience, and lifelong service to future generations. William carefully reviewed the access records again. Sadness crossed his face, but determination quickly replaced it. The medal had survived years of royal service and countless family challenges. He refused to let it become part of any disagreement over reputation or royal identity. Without seeking anyone else's opinion, the future king signed an official custodial directive. That order transferred full responsibility for the medal to William's authority, giving him the final decision over who could handle it. From that moment forward, Meghan was barred from all current and future access requests. Several hours later, Meghan received the decision through a private communication. She read the notice once, then focused again on the sentence mentioning her name. Her expression immediately changed. This was not a temporary delay or a request for additional approval. The restriction was permanent. She understood the message immediately. William no longer believed she should have access to an item so closely connected to Prince Philip. But an additional confidential note made the situation even more serious. The confidential note made the decision even more explosive. Meghan had never asked to see the medal for a simple private visit. Instead, the document referred to a future family presentation linked to Prince Harry's royal heritage, suggesting that Prince Philip's legacy could be included in a Sussex narrative about the past. To William, remembrance was sacred. The idea of turning such a deeply personal item into part of a presentation felt uncomfortably close to claiming ownership. Moments later, the senior keeper stepped forward and quietly revealed another detail. Meghan's name had appeared beside the medal once before, connected to an earlier access request that had never been fully clarified. William immediately closed the register and ordered the complete vault file. Somewhere inside those records was the missing piece that had turned his concern into decisive action. As the file was opened, the issue stopped being about a single medal. It became a battle over who truly had the right to protect Prince Philip's legacy. To understand William's decision, it helps to understand what Prince Philip meant to everyone involved. To William, he represented discipline, duty, and unwavering service. To Harry, he remained the grandfather whose approval still carried enormous emotional weight. And to Meghan, Philip's legacy was closely tied to the royal identity that her children might one day inherit. The medal never spoke a word, yet each person attached a different meaning to it. Sitting alone, William unfolded a handwritten note his grandfather had once sent after a particularly difficult royal engagement. One sentence immediately caught his attention. Philip had warned him never to let personal resentment interfere with public duty. Those words echoed through William's mind. He worried that reclaiming the medal might appear to be an act of revenge against Harry and Meghan. But failing to protect it felt like an even greater betrayal of everything his grandfather had stood for. Meanwhile, Meghan turned toward Harry with visible frustration. She insisted the decision was not only directed at her, it also sent a message to Archie and Lilibet, children who might one day wonder why an important part of their family history had been kept beyond their reach. Harry quietly stepped away and stood beside a nearby window. After a long silence, he admitted that he had once imagined showing the medal to his son, hoping Archie would understand that stepping away from royal duties had never erased his bond with Prince Philip. Then another truth emerged. Harry acknowledged that he had known about the access request before it was submitted. What he did not realize, however, was that the medal was expected to become part of a privately filmed family presentation. That single revelation changed everything. William remained silent for several moments after hearing the update. The room was quiet as members of the royal collection staff waited for his response. If the medal had been included in any private project, even symbolically, the issue was no longer just about family sentiment. It was now about preserving one of Prince Philip's most personal possessions exactly as he had intended. The complete vault records were carefully reviewed once again. Every access request, authorization, and handwritten note had been preserved over the years. One entry immediately stood out. Shortly after Prince Philip's passing, palace officials had added a special instruction stating that any future movement of the medal required the direct approval of the future sovereign or the acting custodian of the royal collection. William slowly closed the file. That single instruction confirmed he already possessed the authority to make the final decision. Meanwhile, Harry tried to calm the growing tension. He explained that neither he nor Meghan intended to disrespect Prince Philip's memory. From his perspective, the medal represented an important part of his children's family history, not a political statement. But William viewed the matter differently. Royal heirlooms were not personal keepsakes that could be shared at someone's discretion. They represented the institution itself. As discussions continued behind closed doors, senior palace advisors quietly agreed that William's decision followed long-established royal protocol. The medal would remain secured inside the Windsor vault, and no further access requests would be considered unless William personally approved them. The decision quickly became one of the most closely guarded conversations inside the royal household. Only a handful of trusted officials knew the complete details, while others were informed only that the custody arrangements had been updated. Late that evening, William returned to the vault one final time. Standing before the secure display, he looked at Prince Philip's gold medal without saying a word. To him, it was never about winning a disagreement. It was about protecting the memory of the grandfather who had spent a lifetime serving the crown. But just as William prepared to leave, the chief archivist quietly handed him another sealed envelope. The name written across the front made him stop instantly. William looked down at the sealed envelope without opening it immediately. The handwriting on the front was instantly recognizable. It had belonged to Prince Philip. Carefully preserved for years, the letter had remained inside the royal archives with instructions that it be released only under very specific circumstances. The chief archivist quietly explained that the document had surfaced during the final review of the vault records. Because the medal's custody had officially changed, the archive system automatically flagged every related file. No one expected to find a personal letter stored alongside the official paperwork. William slowly broke the seal. Inside was a short handwritten message from Prince Philip. Rather than discussing the medal itself, the note focused on responsibility. Philip reminded future custodians that royal heirlooms should never become symbols of personal disagreement or public controversy. They were to be protected for the crown and for future generations, not for individual recognition. The words stayed with William as he folded the letter and placed it back inside the envelope. His decision had already been made, but the message strengthened his belief that preserving the medal exactly where it belonged was the right course of action. Elsewhere, Harry learned that William had completed the review. Although disappointed, he reportedly understood that the matter had reached its conclusion. Meghan, however, remained frustrated by the permanent restriction, believing the decision created an even deeper divide within the family. Behind palace walls, officials quietly updated the official custody register. Prince Philip's gold medal would remain inside the secure Windsor vault under William's direct authority, and no additional requests involving the item would move forward without his written approval. Most believed the story had finally come to an end. But just before the archive was closed for the evening, another staff member discovered a second record hidden behind the original file, one that raised an entirely new question about Prince Philip's collection. And that unexpected discovery changed the conversation once again. The newly discovered record was unlike the others. It carried no official seal, no public reference number, and almost no explanation. Instead, it contained a brief inventory prepared years earlier, listing several of Prince Philip's personal keepsakes that had been separated from the main royal collection for special protection. William carefully read every line. Near the bottom of the page, one handwritten remark immediately caught his attention. It stated that certain items connected to Prince Philip were to remain under the supervision of the direct heir unless future instructions were personally authorized by the sovereign. Although the medal had already been secured, this note suggested there were additional heirlooms protected under the same principle. Palace officials quietly confirmed the document's authenticity before adding it to the permanent archive. The discovery reinforced William's belief that preserving these possessions was about safeguarding history rather than controlling it. Every action now had to follow established royal procedure. Meanwhile, Harry reflected on everything that had happened. He admitted that emotions had overshadowed the original purpose of remembering Prince Philip. The growing disagreement had transformed a treasured family keepsake into the center of a much larger debate about legacy, responsibility, and the future of the royal family. Meghan, however, remained convinced that the decision had drawn another line between the two households. Even though the medal would remain inside the vault, she believed the message behind William's order would be remembered far longer than the item itself. As preparations were made to close the archive for the night, the chief archivist approached William one final time. A quiet phone call had just arrived from another royal residence regarding an additional document connected to Prince Philip's private collection. William paused. If the report was accurate, the story surrounding the gold medal was only one part of a much larger royal secret that had remained hidden for years. And the next discovery promised to reveal even more. The following morning, William arrived at another secure royal archive after receiving word that additional records connected to Prince Philip had been located. Unlike the Windsor vault, this collection contained private correspondence, ceremonial documents, and historical inventories that had remained untouched for decades. The senior archivist greeted William with a quiet warning. The newly discovered file had never been included in the main catalogue because Prince Philip himself had requested that it remain sealed unless questions about his personal collection ever arose. With the gold medal now at the center of attention, the conditions for opening it had finally been met. William carefully examined the contents. Inside were detailed notes explaining how several of Philip's treasured possessions should be preserved for future generations. The instructions repeatedly emphasized one principle. These items represented the continuity of the monarchy and should never become part of personal disagreements or public disputes. Reading those words, William felt reassured that his decision had followed the values his grandfather believed in. The issue had never been about excluding anyone. It was about ensuring that Prince Philip's legacy remained protected according to the wishes recorded during his lifetime. Meanwhile, Harry was informed that another review of Philip's personal archive had taken place. Although curious about what had been discovered, he accepted that the documents were now under William's responsibility as the family's senior royal heir. Friends close to Harry later suggested he hoped the disagreement would eventually settle, allowing everyone to focus on honoring Philip's memory rather than arguing over individual possessions. Back inside the archive, officials completed new security entries for every document connected to the medal. Access permissions were tightened, and each file was placed under enhanced protection to prevent future confusion over ownership or authority. Just as William prepared to leave, the chief archivist quietly handed him a final inventory sheet. One unfamiliar entry immediately caught his attention. According to the record, Prince Philip had left behind another valuable keepsake that had never been publicly mentioned, and its location was still unknown. William studied the final inventory sheet several times. The unidentified keepsake was described only by a short reference number and a handwritten note from decades earlier. There was no photograph, no detailed description, and no indication of where it had been moved. Even the palace archivists admitted they had never seen the item. The discovery immediately triggered another review of Prince Philip's private records. Every storage register, transfer log, and handwritten archive was checked in hopes of tracing the missing keepsake. Although nothing confirmed it had ever left royal protection, its exact location remained a mystery. For William, the search was no longer simply about recovering another royal possession. Each newly uncovered document revealed how carefully Prince Philip had planned the preservation of his personal collection. Every instruction reflected the same message. History should be protected with patience, responsibility, and respect. Meanwhile, Harry learned that palace officials had expanded their review beyond the gold medal. While he understood the importance of safeguarding Prince Philip's legacy, he quietly hoped the ongoing investigation would eventually bring closure instead of creating new divisions within the family. As the days passed, senior royal staff completed their examination of every known archive connected to Philip's belongings. The gold medal remained secured inside the Windsor vault under William's authority, while the search for the unidentified keepsake continued behind closed doors. Just before the investigation was formally concluded, the chief archivist uncovered one final handwritten memorandum tucked inside an old storage ledger. The brief note contained only a single instruction. It stated that if the missing keepsake was ever found, it should be presented first to the future king before anyone else was informed. Those final words left everyone in the room completely silent, and marked the beginning of yet another royal mystery. William carefully folded the final memorandum and returned it to the archive folder. The room remained completely silent as the chief archivist secured every document inside a locked case. Although many questions still remained unanswered, one decision was now beyond dispute. Prince Philip's gold medal would stay exactly where it belonged, protected inside the royal vault under William's direct authority. Before leaving, William paused for one last look at the archive. His thoughts were not focused on titles or possessions, but on the responsibility his grandfather had carried throughout his lifetime. Protecting Philip's legacy, he believed, meant preserving it with dignity rather than allowing it to become part of family disagreements. Meanwhile, Harry reflected on everything that had happened over the previous days. While he wished circumstances had unfolded differently, he also understood that some royal heirlooms would always remain connected to the institution rather than to individual family members. Meghan, however, continued to view the decision as another painful reminder of the growing distance between the two households. Inside the palace, officials quietly finalized the updated records. Every reference connected to Prince Philip's gold medal was reviewed, signed, and securely filed. Future access requests would require William's personal authorization, ensuring that the medal remained protected for generations to come. As the archive doors slowly closed, the chief archivist looked toward William and offered a quiet observation. Some treasures are valuable because of what they're made of. Others are priceless because of what they represent. William nodded without saying a word. For him, Prince Philip's gold medal was never simply a piece of history. It stood as a lasting symbol of duty, loyalty, and a lifetime of service to the crown. Whether the remaining royal mysteries would ever be fully resolved was a question for another day. But one thing had become certain: the legacy Prince Philip left behind would continue to shape the future of the monarchy for years to come. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal updates and exclusive stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.